All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Roll call, please.
Chalet,
Yes.
Commissioner Stringer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ack,
Yes.
Commissioner Whitehouse,
Here.
Commissioner McCaffrey,
Here.
Chair Sarter.
Present.
We're voting.
Any additions or deletions from the agenda tonight, Mr. Byrd?
Chairman, I don't have any additions, but I do want to point out on the agenda tonight, it's a little bit different than our normal meetings. Agenda item number 8 is the adjournment of the regular meeting, and then agenda item number 9 is a work session for transportation mobility plan. So after adjournment of the regular meeting, we may take a short recess and then reconvene for the work session where no discussion can take place. So I just wanted to point out that nuance.
No discussion or
You
no?
mean no decision?
I'm sorry, no action in a work session.
That's gonna be a short meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Anyone wish to speak on any non-agenda items? No one? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the October meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from the October meeting.
I wasn't here, so I'll get a second.
Second. Call, please.
Commissioner Chalet,
Yes.
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 Whitehouse,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, our new business item for tonight. Mr. Byrd, would you like to go over the schedule real quick before we move to approve?
Yeah, so this has been a tradition that we've done. The Planning Commission typically meets on the first Monday of the month, and without fail, there's always at least one conflict with Labor Day being the first Monday of the month. So in the event that we have a holiday, we typically meet the following Monday, same day of the week. And we started advertising a full meeting schedule so that our development community, our applicants, can anticipate what that schedule is going to look like. And so what you have in your packet tonight is the 2026 Planning Commission meeting schedule and submission deadlines for our applicants to build their project schedules off of. We did move a couple of the regular meetings 1 week due to the holidays, and those are highlighted in that other color. So if there's any questions regarding the schedule or those proposed changes, we can certainly answer those questions, but otherwise, staff has vetted this calendar and we feel like this is a pretty good representation of what our 2026 meetings should look like.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Byrd. Anyone have any questions for staff on the calendar? Awesome. Do I have a motion to approve the 2026 Planning Commission calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Call, please.
Commissioner Chalet,
Yes.
Commissioner Stringer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ack,
Yes.
Commissioner Whitehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner McCaffrey.
Yes.
Chair Sarter.
Yes. Any other communications from staff?
Our next regular meeting will be the January meeting. As you know, since you've just looked at the calendar, that one we did move back 1 week because of the conflict with getting packets over New Year's. We figured that would be less productive for review, so we did move it that 1 week. So January 12th, I believe, is the next meeting of the Planning Commission for 2026. At a minimum, we'll have election of officers. We always do that the first meeting of the year. So offices serve 1-year terms, so please be prepared for that. For those elections. And then the only other communication I was going to share, we do have one vacancy on the Planning Commission. There was one application and that person was interviewed by a panel of Board of Trustees, and myself and Chairman Sarter participate on that. So the recommendation was to appoint that individual, and that's on the Board of Trustees agenda for tomorrow night. So our hope is that if that appointment is completed and is successful, that individual will be joining us in January. So those are my communications.
Awesome.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Okay, we are adjourned.
You have to call the work session to order?
That changed the whole feeling of the meeting.
I think we have already answered that question.
Yeah.
I haven't in the past. We just start work, especially since it's not a regular time, even at the regular meetings. So. Go ahead.
I'll make it.
Is this part broadcast?
Yeah, it's recorded and streamed.
Okay.
Okay, so while we've got a presentation that we're loading up here on your monitors and online for the work session on the transportation and mobility plan. I know we're enjoying some refreshments, so please continue to do that while we get this started. And as a reminder for a work session, it's for presentation and discussion purposes. No action can be taken during a work session, but discussion is encouraged.
Have you rejoined, Brittany?
Doesn't-
Brittany and Earl will be rejoining the webinar panelists.
Yeah, and it just automatically updates me, but it just keeps asking me to join.
There's no option to join.
Yeah, I clicked join, and then nothing.
Do you want to have me screen share for you?
Sure, that works.
Yeah.
Maybe, so yes, the time we share the impact of map, we can take over that. Because I don't know if I can get over, I can go.
Just to navigate it. Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Well, thank you, commissioners, for coming tonight for the work session. Hope you're enjoying your food. It smells delicious. So tonight we just wanted to go over our transportation and mobility plan with you all. We just started taking that over, and we just wanted to bring it in front of you to let you know what that entails, what we're doing so far, and next steps. Next slide, please. So the transportation and mobility plan effort has 3 different components that are related to each other. We have the transportation and mobility plan, which will tier off our comprehensive plan, as well as our strategic plan. We'll have our impact fee nexus study, which is a nexus study that will analyze our existing road impact fees and any ways that we will update that or can update that. And then the proposed updates will be based on prioritized transportation projects and funding those in the future. And then we have our street design guidelines and standards. And so that'll be a comprehensive update. We do have a design guidelines and standards booklet. And so this will replace a section of that booklet with new street guidelines and standards. And we will be looking into considering the Larimer County urban area street standard. Next slide. So Wellington, our planning department will not be doing this alone. We have contracted with FHU, Felsberg, and Woodbig. They do transportation planning and engineering, and they, along with Dig Studios, will be helping us with the plan, impact fee nexus study, and the design study guidelines and standards. And so what is involved in a transportation and mobility plan? This is really a plan for looking at where we are at now and for the future. So this could be 5, 10, 15 years in the future. This plan will look at up to 2050. It is a supplement to the comprehensive plan. Like I mentioned, our comprehensive plan does have many transportation goals and strategies outlined in it. So this would support those. And we have been doing and will continue to do public engagement. Right now, we're in phase 1 of engagement. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we've done so far. So we will be analyzing community needs and desires right now to see what the community wants us to focus on in regards to transportation in Wellington. As part of this, we will be analyzing critical corridors. So later on, I'll be asking the planning commission about what corridors you know of, or anything that we want to emphasize moving forward. And this is not the last time you'll hear of this. We will have presentations to both the planning commission and the board of trustees throughout this effort. That is a good point. Thank you. So this is a about 12 to 18-month effort, so you will be seeing this moving forward in future planning commission agendas. Next slide, please. So like I mentioned, we have our transportation mobility plan. We also have the impact fee component. So just to scale it back a little bit, what is an impact fee? It is a one-time payment imposed by the town on a developer, and it's meant to offset financial impacts of new development. So right now you'll see on the screen our current impact fee for roads is $1,700 for single family, $1,700 for multifamily residential, and for commercial, it's average daily traffic. And so in this study, it will basically be a report. The impact fee nexus study will be a report that summarizes the methodologies, findings, and recommended fee schedule updates to see if there may be a different structure that we would want to move forward with for impact fees in regards to roads. And just to clarify, an impact fee for roads it would not be placed into a fund for maintenance or upkeep. It is for new impacts, new roads, things like that. Next slide. And so the last component of this is those street design guidelines and standards. You'll see on the right just screenshots I took of our existing standards. And so the intention is to look at those and see what updates we want to make. This will be an effort, a collaboration between our planning, engineering, public works staff to see what would be the most appropriate. We would also look at standardizing it with Larimer County and possibly adopting part of their or all of their Lucas standards, the Larimer County Urban Area Street Standards. As you may know, Wellington is working with Larimer County right now with the IGA, the Intergovernmental Agreement for our growth management area. And so that's ways that we can collaborate on properties that are not currently within the town boundary, but could be in the future. And so adopting part or all of the Lucas standards could help with that transition in the future based off what the property owner wants. So that's something that we'd be exploring as well through this effort. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we are doing a lot of community input. Right now we are focused on phase one, which is more vision and values. So what the community wants to see in this plan. And then we will move on to strategy development. So we've heard what you said. What did we get it right? Basically confirming what we've heard. And then our phase three will be sharing your thoughts on, we'll create the draft plan, sharing your thoughts on did we get it right. So like I said, this will be rolling out throughout the next year. And so you can see winter up to January, we'll be doing the phase one vision and values. And so just to go into more on what phase one strategies we've implemented so far, we have joined in on some pop-up events. So we've joined in on the budget bonanza, that was October. We also were a part of, join in on Mingle on Main. And so you'll see in that photo on the left of your screen, we have this board that was out. And so just asking the community what they wanted to focus on, their top 3 priorities when it came to transportation. In the, I guess on the right, you'll see on the bottom, that is a postcard that we mailed out last week. And that links to an online interactive map. And then we also, Cody and one of our FHU partners did a podcast a couple weeks ago, so it'll be out this week. So if you guys wanted to listen to that, you could as well. So we are really trying to get the word out. We've posted a few on social media. And so we can click that link and just show you the interactive mapping tool that we have so far. Last week when I put this together, we had about 70 contributions on the map. And you'll see now we have about 133. So it seems like people are really wanting to engage and engaging. So it's very exciting. I think what we're doing is working and we'll continue doing it. And so we bring that up. You can see, can you click that, expand it on the right? Yeah. So there are a few options. If you can click add marker, just so we can show the different options. Just add it anywhere, you can exit out of it. So there's different categories: safety concern, walking or biking challenge, traffic or reliability issue, community connection, or a good example. And so if you were to click one of those, then you could put your comment in, and there's an option to thumbs up and thumbs down. So if you just exit out of that, Eden, we can just look at a real world example. And so you can see on this comment specifically, it's not within our town boundary, but it is within our GMA. Since this is a transportation master plan, mobility plan, we aren't just looking within our current town boundaries. The idea is that this plan grows with us as our town grows. And so we do want input both on town boundary properties as well as those beyond within our growth management area. And so, there are a lot of examples that we can go through here. And you as planning commissioners can also join in and add your own comments and like comments and dislike comments as you see fit. We can come back to this if you wanted to take a deeper dive, but for now we can move on to some discussion. And so, when we look at visions and goals, the foundation for this plan, we would like to hear back from the Planning Commission on what you wanted to emphasize in the Transportation Mobility Plan. Like I said, we did go out with this board for the Budget Bonanza and Mingle on Main in November. And I did tally up the votes. Easier walking and biking connection was number 1 at 19 dots. And so this is pick your top 3. So easier walking and biking connection, and then second place tied. So safer streets for people of all ages and abilities, as well as streets that support growth and local business. That's at 15 per. And then better routes to schools, parks, and downtown. That's 12 dots. And so if you guys just wanted to go around the room and discuss what you think about transportation mobility in Wellington, what you want to emphasize. This really is about everybody in Wellington. So those who may have difficulty getting around, who don't have a car, whether that be children or an elderly senior in the community. And so just being, you might also see at the bottom too, there is these empty spaces, and that allows people to write in what they wanted. We did have this set up near a housing booth that we had. So the prompt or the write-in is senior housing, but I think that could relate to senior transportation as well. We have heard that feedback as well. So just anything that you guys want to bring up or input you have, we'd love to hear it.
So, question on the impact fee part of it, the transportation impact fee. So I know the county is updating theirs, and there's an opportunity for the town to work with the county to also collect those same county fees that then get put into a fund that specifically addresses the county roads that feed into Wellington. It's a partnership that the county already does with the city of Fort Collins. And given the amount of growth we have, concerns for things that are outside of our boundaries, but in our GMA, I didn't know if this was something that the town has explored or is interested in exploring. I know ultimately that would have to be a decision by the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Cholet. Definitely something that we'll be taking a look at. We have identified a number of stakeholders that we're going to be reaching out to for specific conversations. Larimer County is obviously one of them. CDOT's another one. and looking for ways to partner and make sure that our efforts and their efforts are moving in the same direction and not in opposite directions. Cost sharing is something that we can absolutely have a conversation around, but we haven't gotten to that stage of our project yet. So it's something that we'll keep an eye on.
Okay. Did anybody say much about like around the schools? I mean, without looking in depth at the map in terms of there isn't a real accessible option like to the high school
Yeah,
that isn't
was,
a school bus.
that was brought up a lot, that there wasn't sidewalks or an easy way to walk to the school. And there were some comments around Istone Elementary as well.
Okay. Well, I think this is great that you guys are getting started on all of this.
Yeah. It's
I think,
exciting.
are you finished, Ms. Chalet? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the four that have been highlighted or maybe have the highest number of votes seem like good priorities. I mean, we all know the bridge over I-25 is not for pedestrians or bicyclists to use or prohibited. The other alternative is that tunnel further south, which is not a most particular space. So I think certainly trying to address these, and obviously a bridge or an overpass or something is a major, major infrastructure project. But yeah, I mean, I think these kind of highlighted some of the things that I think this is certainly a reasonable place to start.
Thank you.
How is it like, this is like different question. How is this project being funded? Is that coming from the town? Do we get any grants? So the things pretty much dried up. So I was just curious about that side of it.
Sure. No, it's a good question. For the funding for this, it's being funded by the town's general fund. We have, this was a project that was identified a couple of years ago. We put it in the capital improvement plan and worked it through the years. But we've paired this with private donation from a development. It was part of an annexation agreement negotiation where they would match 50% on this project. So 50% of this project is funded by the town and 50% of it's funded by private donation dollars.
Okay. Thank you. That's all for me right
Thank
now.
you.
Addressing the actual question here, the vision and goals that you guys would like to see. I was part of the, what was the actual board selection committee? Thank you.
Yeah.
The selection committee that ended up ultimately voting for this vendor to put this together. They had a really well-rounded presentation when the proposal, the RFP went out. And I think that's ultimately why they were selected. They had it pretty well streamlined. They touched on a lot of points that we had been talking about for years. So as far as the visions and goals, I think FA2 has got a really good focused approach to this already. This is a little off topic. I'm going to go off topic, believe it or not. I know.
Stay on top.
For some of you that have been around long enough, you remember the Trails Master Plan from 5 or 6 years ago that stalled out because there's no good connection from north up by Community Park and south down through the southern neighborhoods. And at one point, there was talk of turning some of the city streets into multi-use walking, bike lane, vehicular. And then the funding ran out, the thing was rejected, nothing ever happened of it. Is this an appropriate time to bring that back? And is there any plans?
Yeah, great question. We still continue to hear those needs for a pedestrian trail connection, connecting basically Jefferson Avenue to Washington Avenue. It's a mile section through the already developed portion of town, so it's one of the hardest to get retrofit in for especially trail connections. But this is an appropriate time to bring those comments up. It's something that I think there's already a comment or two on the online mapping tool that we shared a minute ago, kind of addressing that same need or need for trail connectivity as part of our transportation alternatives network. I would also comment that the Prost board, Parks, Recreation, Open Space and Trails, is also underway on a Parks and Trail master plan update. And they're looking at the trail connections component also. So they've collected feedback on that specific component about trail connectivity north to south. And they're one of our stakeholder groups to align this project goals with the Prost's project goals to make sure that we're not duplicating and that we're in alignment with the needs and identifying which are recreation related, which are transportation related, and how to appropriately evaluate and fund those projects. So this is still a really good opportunity to collect the public feedback on that. I joined the town shortly after that project was being discussed, and it was something that it had a lot of momentum at the time. It did kind of peter out, but those plans aren't lost. A lot of them are still in my office and Public Works' office. This is an opportunity to see if there's a different way to look at those goals and make those meaningful connections.
Talk about time flying, huh?
That's right.
Okay, awesome, thank you. I
Can I ask-
agree, I think that is a sticking point around here, like that mile of trail is,
Yeah.
it's so crucial, but it's so difficult, and that's why it just feels like nothing ever gets done with it over the last 7 or 8 years now.
Well, it was $1 million price tag,
Yep.
and there was some.
Metering came into play.
Well, I think there was also some impacts on some landowners about a trail adjacent to their livestock, and yeah, maybe. I had a question that just went out of my head.
While you're thinking about that question,
Might never come back though. You realize that.
I'll give you a minute to think about it. The past project that was discussed at the time that it was being considered, it had been identified with a kind of a preferred alignment. Just to kind of double down on the comment a minute ago, this would be an opportunity to evaluate, are there other alternatives to that to still make the connection that's maybe more respectful to certain landowners' wishes, look at the multi-use paths, on-street connections. There's more than one way to make a pedestrian and bike connection, and this is a good opportunity to explore all of the options and see which one has the most likelihood of success. So it's not necessarily say it has to be exactly the way it was envisioned before, but there are opportunities to look at other ways to achieve the same goal.
I was just going to add, like, the different planning conferences that we've gone to. We've seen examples of some real creative ways to kind of create that multi-use pathways, particularly on streets that aren't maybe as conducive or as wide, right? Because they were, before the standards changed and everything. So I'd really like to see us get really creative in the spaces where it's challenging. 3rd Street being a perfect example, right? Of how do we find a way to make that work for the people that live on there, the people that need to use it for all the different transportation stuff. I mean, 3rd Street is a real challenge. And then the other thing I would add is the one thing through Safe Routes to School that we heard constantly was the straightaways south of Jefferson needing some kind of speed bumps or something that makes people slow down because it becomes a raceway really fast. So that would be the things that I would be thinking about.
And I know you guys are trying your best, and it's probably the hardest thing you have to do when you're asking people for feedback is to get the actual feedback for the people that really matters the most. So I don't know how that is, except for us, boots on the ground trying to do that. But we do have a few individuals, and I think as our community is growing, that have more special needs. We have a gentleman who has some vision impairment that walks up and down Main Street every day and crosses Main Street. And he actually crosses at a place that doesn't have a crosswalk. And I'm not exactly sure if the 2 crosswalks that we have, do they make sound?
No.
I know that there is sound at the 6th, but the other ones don't. So I've seen that, and I'm hoping that can be something, as we're creating our new downtown, the Cleveland Avenue project, making it so that those things could be added easier for the future. And then I do appreciate that last year there was a big push. I think it was last year, even about last 2 years, of getting our sidewalks accessible for wheelchairs. And so that was very dangerous. I even had a personal issue with my mother falling off a sidewalk twice in a scooter. But I'm hoping that the sidewalks, and that is still hopefully happening. But how can we, how can we get some information out to those people that need to tell us the most, that we can't attract really the best?
Brittany, do you want to speak to some of the efforts that we've used for engagement or are in the works? I know you touched on a couple earlier, but maybe elaborate a little bit on what's in the works now, and then I can circle back to some of the hard to reach audiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are doing mailers out to the community. So we've tried to reach as many as we can. It won't be to every household, but a big majority. So that could possibly reach some of the communities that don't normally see planning commission meetings or other things like that. We also will be doing like stakeholder outreach and specific outreach. So to the senior center, here at the library, setting up kiosks and trying to get us as visible in like community areas as we can. And then on our website as well, we'll have that we'll send a news release as well. So those are a few things that we're doing to hopefully get the word out to some of the parts of our communities that don't often interact with our normal run-of-the-mill planning commission meetings, board meetings. A lot of our outreach has also been bilingual. So the mailers that have been sent out, the front is English and the back is Spanish. That web page with the interactive map has an option for you to change languages on it as well.
Thanks.
Just one thought I had, and I've just recently been aware of this, that United Way offers a lot of support to people in Larimer County. And so if it's somebody who's in a wheelchair or hearing deaf, someone who has just any sort of a disability that may have somebody being a caretaker for them in their home. So say a spouse, a mother, a father. It might be interesting to see if you could reach out to United Way, tell them what we're doing, and we're trying to get to the hard to reach people in Wellington, and if they would help us either provide that list or we give them some information to mail out to those hard to reach people in our area.
Okay.
So just a thought, that would be one way, because mobility plan, that is for everybody. And
Yeah.
I just don't know that sometimes we're not catching those hard to reach places.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there some reason why we didn't mail out to just everyone in the community?
A lot of it's dollars and cents within our budget. We were able.
Pricey.
It is pricey because you're looking.
Well, if you do a postcard through a certain printer, I can tell you it's not as pricey.
It's still in your mail to 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people.
Yeah.
Or 5,000
it's-
households even.
I mean, so like
It's-
approximately how many households did we reach out to?
50% is what's going to receive direct mail in addition to our other outlets. And those are in bilingual. So, and that is, we think, going to have a bigger impact for some of our Hispanic speaking or Spanish speaking households that aren't as likely to come to an in-person meeting, aren't as likely to call staff seeking help, but having the bilingual option on those direct mailers will reach that audience and allow them a bilingual platform to leave comments that may be more conducive to getting that feedback. Some other things that we've talked about too, trying to get to specific stakeholder groups. Brittany and I may be reaching out to the senior center to help engage with that population that may not be following social media. We do think that the mailers will help. The newsletter went out for December that had the information in it that reaches an audience that doesn't follow social media. So our goal has really been to get to as many different outlet forms as we can and to make ourselves available. I know that Brittany and I are always, and Aiden as well, planning staff is always in the office. We can meet in person, we can do phone, we can do video chat. We're really willing to meet individuals at whatever mode works best for them, and including we can provide ADA assistance and listening devices and other things like that. What we're really trying to do is make sure that the word gets around, that people know that we are available to meet them at the level that they need to provide that feedback. I was also going to mention that Brittany talked about some of the postcards and business cards that we have printed with the QR code and other things. Many of our local businesses have those business cards with the QR codes, and they're promoting those at their shops or places of business to help encourage people to come and take this plan. So we've tried as many different angles as we can within our resource constraints to reach that audience.
Just a couple suggestions. Both elementary schools have PTOs, which are literally your boots on the ground as far as the kids go, right? And maybe engaging the high school students, particularly the ones that don't drive to school yet. Because, well, I watch them walk to school in various pathways that are definitely not recommended. And have you thought about doing text messaging? That's very inexpensive.
If we don't have the means to send it to all text messages. That's for emergency services or a service that I'm not familiar with. But anyone who has signed up for town communications via our newsletter, text alerts, and other things, they can get that information.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't gone so far as to use our emergency services to push out
Well,
transportation mobility plans, but we do have the online services that the town has already created where you can sign up for it, and those individuals can get that information.
okay.
We get their attention on the 911.
Yeah,
Hey, I better read this.
not sure we want to use our lead in 911 emergency contact for that just yet.
I think people would be excited that you wanted them to do a survey instead of give them money if you did a zillion text messages like I do.
Well, thank you guys for your feedback. There's not anything else for this one. We do have a second and last question for you. And so I mentioned earlier, as part of this effort, we would be doing corridor analysis. And so I know some of you have already mentioned some, but what corridors would you want us to focus on? I think some of it will be apparent the more we get feedback on the interactive map, but just getting some input from you guys about within the town boundary and also within the growth management area. What do you think is critical to analyze in terms of corridors?
Well, any way to get from the east side to the west side would be a good thing to analyze. And north to south.
Yeah, I think the Third Street is a big one. You've got the two VPNs going through Harvest Village that slow people down a little bit, but then once you clear that north or south, it's just a straight drag race. A lot of kids all over the place. Also getting a lot of dirt bikes on the walking path, which is right behind my house, and it's really freaking annoying when they're racing up and down the dirt path or the walking path and then making their own racetrack out in the open space out there. But
Chain and a post.
what's that?
Chain and a post.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
I mean, I guess there's been some talk last year or so about what's going on at, 58 at I-25. I mean, there's been some discussions and I don't know if we're going to get there's going to be an interchange there. I'm not sure. That's probably county, CDOT, and everybody else involved in that one. So, but I mean, and obviously Owl Canyon, but we don't currently have water and sewer up there. And,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that may be a little further out.
One of the things that planners tend to think about, what in the context of a transportation and mobility plan, we're asking about corridors. I think it's easy to think about the transportation networks, and a lot of us kind of default to automobiles. I don't think that everyone necessarily considers corridor planning as the land use side of things, that if our transportation network needs to support our land use goals, what does that road network and pedestrian network look like to support the longer range vision of the maybe a mixed use community where an arterial roadway with limited access points may not be very conducive to promoting walkability and our mixed use goals. So those are some of the things that maybe don't meet the eye initially when you're thinking of corridor planning. That could be, it's not just the safety and mobility needs for ADA or traffic speed or or maybe illegal uses on paths. But looking at how does the road network relate to your expected land uses and being that vision for how do we help create the culture that's going to be supportive for those businesses. And we know that that's already getting a lot of attention on our themes board for being business friendly. We do look beyond just the transportation network and look at the supporting land uses adjacent to make sure that our environment is conducive for that overall goal. Another comment I wanted to throw out for corridor planning and visioning. Corridors don't have to be uniquely for automobile transportation. A corridor could be a mixed use trail, could be trail or pedestrian corridor that helps navigate through a particularly difficult portion of town that may not have a road connection to it. But that corridor can transcend just the automobile portion of it. Transit corridors are another component that might be outside the scope of where Wellington's at today, but certainly other communities have looked at rail transit corridors as a complement to their overall transportation network planning. So I just wanted to share those ideas, maybe help think about. I love the examples that I heard tonight so far. I just wanted to provide that additional context to see if that promotes any other discussion around which corridors we should take a look at.
I think along some of those lines, the newer developments, we've done a better job over the last 5 or 6 years since I've been here of requiring developers to think more forward about some of these things. So the Sage Meadows, the Sage Farms, the Saddleback, that's got a lot of this baked into it already. So I think people's first and foremost are always, it's the retrofit parts of town that, we're kind of getting, I don't want to say spoiled, but we're addressing these with the newer communities, so they're not really top of mind anymore. The old communities are not. Those are obviously the problem areas. So whether it is multi-use, whether it's trails, whether it's traffic, whether it's business, it's all going to center in the older neighborhoods and Old Town, I think. So I think those corridors, however you want to approach them, it's the Old Town area. How do we make it more user friendly?
I'd also say to that thing about the transit with the railroad, I know current plans are for the Front Range passenger rail to end in Fort Collins. There is a subset of us that is really promoting that it should end in this community for multiple reasons, right? From a cost standpoint, it makes more sense because we have a lot more availability than what they would have to try to build to store trains, maintain trains, all that kind of stuff. So, but eventually it's supposed to go all the way to Cheyenne anyway. And so in thinking about that, as there's more development and all of that type of thing, really planning out what does that look like along the railroad, understanding that the Front Range passenger rail isn't going to change those lines, right? That something that could then really be conducive to the town of Wellington in the future, whether that's a spur that's all the way up closer to Owl Canyon that has an opportunity for commercial, which we've kind of already indicated and all of that. But I think finding a way to create corridors that coordinate with what we've designated on our comprehensive plan and our GMA, and understanding that within each of those corridors as we're moving forward, whether it's down 6th Street, either north or south, that we're looking at what does that look like for business accessibility and parking, right? Like we have less parking standards and things like that. So are we planning for sidewalks? Are we planning for ways for people to get through that? And so I would like to see us really looking at how are we fixing what we have right now, but planning for the future that makes accessibility to business, the economic development that's so crucial for this community. So that's it. And then like, how do you get to school and parks safely, which is like hard. That's pretty much what I think.
Can I read back at least? I'm trying to take a few notes on the corridors on what at least at a high level, what I think I heard, and I want you to tell me if there were other comments that I missed. I heard maybe taking a look at 3rd Street, County Road 58, Owl Canyon Road, rail or transit corridor needs for the long range. I think I heard 6th Street thrown in there for business accessibility and also in line with the connections with safe routes to iStone. Did I miss? That's what I have on my list so far. Were there others that were thrown out there for corridors? Old Town connections. I heard.
I would also say Highway 1, like I know that that's kind of a challenge, but as things are developing, right, what does that look like in terms of, eventually, hopefully the speed limit is slower, but what does that look like in terms of the connectivity between what's neighborhoods now and what would ultimately be more of a commercial, neighborhood commercial, and then the schools and all of that, like, what are we trying to do there in that corridor? Because now we don't have sidewalks, we do have shoulders finally. And have they made any movement on the intersection there at County Road 9 and Highway 1?
It's still CDOT's working through their processes and looking at design. It's probably going to be a 2027 project where they're at right now and doing all the coordination that takes place to make it a project.
Okay.
Wouldn't I-25 exit and all that be considered part of a good corridor to talk about?
And that was
Under.
I was going to ask for some clarification because I think I heard State Highway 1 thrown out there, and in my mind, because the highway angles south. Or what would the Planning Commission's recommendation on what is State Highway 1 constitute? Is it the north-south portion? Is it the east-west? Is it all the same, or are those two different?
I feel like once it curves out of town, right, then
Once it goes west,
yeah,
it's bye-bye.
Right.
Because
I was
that's our
thinking of,
planning commission,
Yeah.
our comprehensive plan.
right,
Right up to 58 there.
right. So the north-south corridor was the comment
Yeah.
that you were referring to? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So then going back to Commissioner McCaffrey's comment about I-25, obviously a corridor and a transportation corridor, that's a little outside of the scope that the town can influence because it's a state level agency. We'll definitely be talking to CDOT about what can be done there, the interchange, the connection across. I heard multimodal connections and various.
that isn't a flooding tunnel.
I'm just saying, I mean, we have subdivisions going on that side. We have the frontage road that's all Fort Collins around Wellington. And yet we never talk about the I-25 corridor because we can't build it.
Right.
It's
We can't.
Still a mess over there.
Right. And it's not to say that we would ignore the transportation needs for the east side and the connections across. It may not be a corridor conversation. It might be a specific interchange. It might be a pedestrian network connection. It might be enhancing County Road 58. Those are more interchange or project specific or geographically constrained. The corridor plan might be a different conversation than those particular needs for bridging the sound walls.
Town walls.
So I'll come back to that. But Commissioner McCaffrey, does that make a little sense where a specific intersection for the building the connections versus the corridor connection?
I mean, it does. However, you're talking about 6th Street, you're talking about 3rd Street, you're talking about 5th Street, you're talking all these, and yet you have an entire frontage road of people over here on the south side that can't get over here. I think that becomes a corridor, regardless of what I-25 is. So, I mean, I'm just saying it doesn't affect me at all. That stoplight only stops me for 30 seconds. So, but anybody coming from the south is screwed.
East Frontage Road.
Yeah.
I sometimes sit through that light for 4 lights, and it's not because somebody doesn't know how to trigger it. It's just is what it is. But ultimately, the east side is kind of its own island, and we don't really talk about it, right? And the problem is like the reality. If we're talking about the reality, right? We all know the overpass is a problem. It would be fabulous if we had something that more resembled like Prospect and how they built that out, where there's an opportunity for pedestrian, it's wide enough for vehicles, all that, and bikes or whatever, which then begets we need some kind of a sidewalk on the frontage road so that it's safe to get up there. But as long as we're not in the bigger metropolitan organization for transportation, there will never be enough money in the state fund to replace that. And so I think as a community, that needs to be a priority of how do we advocate for ourselves. You guys, all of us, when we're talking to people that are not in this town, but through the county or other communities around here, to get Wellington to a place where the improvements that are being made throughout this entire county are also being made in Wellington, because until we're in the larger organization, the $40 million it cost 10 or 5 years ago, I can promise you is probably closer to 50 now. And the upper front range TPR is never gonna have that much money in it to fix one overpass.
Well, I do kind of wonder how, like, Vine Drive, that's the overpass that got done, finished, and it has much less traffic than we do here in Wellington.
Correct.
So how did that happen?
They're in because they're in the Metropolitan Planning Organization instead of in the upper
Okay.
front range transportation, which is where we are.
Did that bridge have some issues though?
I was thinking that.
I'm thinking it had some issues and they had to replace it, but
So, I don't recall.
I don't know, but
I think there's something about that one in County Road 66 too, but I'm unsure.
Right. So, I mean, ultimately, squeaky
Yeah,
wheel
no,
and, sorry. But that's gonna be the major sticking point through all the things that you plan, Cody. Thing that anybody that has to deal with that side and going over that overpass, getting backed up on the highway, all the things that happen that really frustrate people that you see over and over and over again on Let's Talk Wellington, all relates to that overpass. And when you weigh out, like, what time is it? Because I need to get milk from Ridley's, and it may not be worth it, right? And it's a lot. I mean, it's not that long of a drive, but to go down and then have to go over County Road 58 to come back the other way, and there's been numerous accidents at the frontage road and County Road 58 recently, and that. So there's another corridor for you, right? Is County? I think we already said County Road 58.
Yeah, I have
but-
that on my list.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just, I mean, there isn't an immediate fix, but when you're planning, this is kind of the wish list too, right? And so in the wish list, I would definitely include the overpass because it's a sticking point for most people that live there.
Yeah, I can tell you that the I-25 interchange is top of all of the lists. It's also the biggest, most expensive project that requires that attention. So it's staff is absolutely aware of it and taking measures to continue to carry that banner and make CDOT aware of our concerns and our challenges, looking for ways to partner with CDOT and other agencies to shed more light on that and get more attention to it. It is just a really big price tag that no one can afford to tackle right now. And so it's one that we're going to continue to keep fighting for. It's not that these plans are not going to ignore that point, but there are other needs in the town too that might be addressed in a more timely manner. And we do need to focus on all the town's transportation needs in addition to
Agreed.
I-25.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for your input. Next slide, please. That's all I had for tonight. We look forward to hearing from you as well as other Wellington residents about transportation. If you wanted to check out that link or anything like that, welcome to hear your feedback. If you didn't have any questions, we can be done, but I welcome any questions if you have any other ones.
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you all.
Plus, the question was, Eric mentioned the presentation by the consultant. Is there any chance we get a copy of that take a look at today? Because they said something about some of the whole values or
Yeah.
thought we'll see that.
So most of the proposal that they submitted, first of all, when the selection process, the proposals are proprietary because those are work products by consultants. But I can tell you with very few exceptions, most of what that proposal turned into the work plan that's in our contract. So we can share the work plan, with the planning commission if that's something that'd be helpful for you to see, so you can see what we lined out. Yeah, the work plan's in our contract. That's a public document, so we can share that. Just I won't share the same proposal materials that they used for the selection committee. We'll share what's publicly available.
That would be perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Chairman, if there's no other, this is a work session, so you don't have to adjourn, but if there's any other discussions, we'll, okay. All right.